To fully understand the purpose and intent of the United States Constitution, you start talking about, let's go back to the original intent of the Constitution. The original intent of the United States Constitution was to be the first affirmative action plan in the United States. And it was designed strictly and solely for whites. It was never designed to include black people in it. Black people were intentionally left out of the United States Constitution. And if you were to go back, if you want to check on some of these things, go back to the Bill of Rights and start right there. Start reading, where it says in the beginning that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, they wrote those lines at the same time they were trying to figure out how to enslave black folk, because they had met and spent an entire week in Philadelphia trying to say, if we're going to become the cradle of democracy, how do we justify not allowing black folk to be a part of the benefiting class? And finally they said, well, what we'll do, we'll change and use certain words in the Constitution that will exclude them or give the pretense that they were included by using very broad and ambiguous terms. And so they said in the preambles that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They knew at that moment that black folk would never intended to be treated equal, that they're gonna hide them as slaves, and that was the purpose, that black folk would be a subordinate class, so whites could get over on them. Now, if you were to go back to the Constitution, look at the first the first part of the United States Constitution, where it says, "We," and this is the preamble to Article 1. "We are the people of the United States." Now they said "we the people." The "we the people" they were not talking about black folk. No place in the Constitution they called black folk people. The black folk were defined in the Constitution as being property, as being 3/5 of a human being. They were dehumanized and left as non-civilized human beings, and that they would be equal to field animals. So whenever the Constitution used the word, those very broad and big words like "we the people" and "all the people" in the Constitution, they are not talking about black folk. That's why when you start reading the first part of the United States Constitution, it starts off saying "we the people." And it says, "and we secure in our blessings of liberty," and they knew at that point that black folk would not have any liberty, "and ourselves and our prosperity, and shall be consistent," blah, 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 with everything except for certain people. That's certain species of people. They were talking about excluding black folk. And so consequently, throughout it, it says those who could not be able to would be eligible for these benefits would be those individuals who are bound to servitude, those individuals who are indebted, those who are in bondage. Those are the broad, ambiguous terms they use for black folk. They didn't say "we the people" and "all the people." That's not the same as those indebted and those in bondage. And then that would be in Article 1 of the Constitution for those who are interested in reading it. Or if they want to, they can jump over right quick and run over to a couple other documents in the Constitution. Like a Constitution Amendment 5 says the same thing, that certain people will be held in bondage, and they would be excluded from the benefits of this country, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They would be classified as property in the Amendment number 5 in the Constitution. We can go on and on, but the issue is very simple, that the Constitution was the first affirmative action plan for white folk, and so anybody wants to go back to the original intent of the Constitution, all you got to do is just go around and gather up all black folk and put them back in the cotton fields and give them cotton sacks and tell them from now on they can have no family, no religion, no organization, no education, no money, no wealth, no power, no fruits of their labor, and no children, that they'll be there. They'll be a servant to everybody but themselves, and they will produce wealth and comfort for everybody but themselves. So that's the original intent of the Constitution. It's all through the Constitution, but unfortunately nobody reads it, or those who do read it don't understand it, especially and amazingly of those who went to law school and supposedly studied law and studied the Constitution and know absolutely nothing about it, what the intent was.